Boa tarde a todo mundo. Meu nome é Rafael Groman, sou coordenador do Laboratório DigiLabour e estamos hoje no segundo encontro com cooperativas de jornalistas, como uma das discussões da nossa pesquisa financiada pelo CNPq no Edital Universal sobre os desafios das cooperativas de jornalistas neste tempo de plataformização do trabalho. E hoje a gente tem para conversar com a gente aqui o David Moore, da Brick House. Hello, David. How are you?
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Brick House Cooperative is a published platform designed, owned, and operated by journalists, ad-free, expandable, and subscription-based. And Brick House is the wolf-proof media collective, founded, owned, and operated by a group of passionate, truthful, and committed journalists and artists. So, David, what is the Brick House, and what is the history of Brick House to our Brazilian audience?
Great. Thanks very much for this chance to talk about our work. I appreciate it very much, Rafael. So thank you. And hey to everyone. I'm coming to you from Brooklyn, New York. The Brick House's members are based all over the world. There are 9 different independent publications, and our cooperative has been together for about a year. It was over a year ago that we formed initially through a Kickstarter to help develop the website and complete the process of incorporating as a cooperative. And I can talk more about that. And then our website launched publicly in December of last year. So we're not yet a year old. But many of the projects we had already been familiar with each other. We had already been working together, though we're mostly based in different cities. 4 of the 9 projects had shared a sort of similar umbrella all the way back in 2018. We had startup grants together, and those were all startup grants to build independent media publications on the open internet. And it was initially part of a company that was going to use some different blockchain platforms in order to form cooperatives around sustainable and ethical journalism. So while that project didn't carry forward and didn't succeed, or rather that project didn't carry forward, and the grantor, whose name is Civil, is no longer operating as a company. 4 of the publications, we were still in close contact, and we still had the goal of wanting to continue and sustain our independent publishing in a project that was owned by the creators. And I'll use the term sort of journalists and creators sort of interchangeably, because some of our publications are more art and literary related, and some of them are more journalism related and podcast related. So I'll just mention briefly, since I'm addressing that, the project of which I'm a co-founder is called Sludge, and it's a project for investigative journalism. We cover money and politics in the United States, but then the other 9 projects are listed on the homepage of the URL at thebrick.house. And the other projects include the global magazine Popula, and also there's 8. Now there's 7 others. They're all viewable there. There's a podcast from here in New York City, where I'm based, called FAQ NYC. There's a project called Tasteful Rude that includes everything from feminist thought to literary criticism. And there's a site based in West Africa called Alungo Africa. And I could go on. The other sites are all great too, so check those out. I can mention more about those. And I will now pause and sort of say that I'm happy to talk more about the actual incorporation process and what our sustainability and business model is as well. So Rafael, what's interesting next?
Yeah, first, what's your work routine on the Brick House, and bringing in parallel with Sludge and other media initiatives?
Mm-hmm. So the Brick House's goals are to publish work that connects with an audience of people who are passionate enough about the unique and idiosyncratic voices that we're bringing. We're a little bit different in that we're not chasing traffic, right? Of course. And there's another unique aspect of our cooperative that I want to highlight up front, because I think it's important for how people think about it, is that there are a few other now sort of new worker-owned and journalist-owned cooperatives, media cooperatives in the United States that are seeking sort of a base of small donor support in order to like achieve their goals and achieve their businesses. Some of them are having some good indications of success. Others, there's lots of individual newsletters that are more challenging. It's tough to reach the numbers of revenue that you need for that to be a full-time job. The thing that I wanted to highlight for the Brick House is that we're democratically run, of course, and the 9 members each have a voting share on members that are brought on questions that are brought to the membership, and they democratically elect a board of directors. That's generally we're in touch with, everyone's all in touch with each other all day. We use Slack as a communication tool, and we all share some technology and development resources as well on WordPress website. But the thing I really wanted to highlight is that the Brick House Cooperative is organized and incorporated according to old rural Midwestern in the United States electric bylaws cooperative. The structure is every member has 1 share. The share can be purchased from the company for $1 and sold back to the company for $1. This allows for a really unique sort of way of thinking about our work, which is that there's simply, in addition to there being no owners, that's kind of becoming more common, we're also ad and sponsor free, which is a decision that our members have taken up and voted on. There's no equity, and this is one of the key differences with other independent media cooperatives that do accumulate equity. Their businesses might be increasingly valued by virtue of gathering traffic, audience, followers on social media, and things like branded event partnerships. That's all great, and that's exciting for independent. That's exciting for different revenue streams for different independent publications to be able to continue their work in the future. The Brick House is open to some sort of the ideas of doing more in-person events and things like that in the future, but it's key for how we think about our publishing every day that if our publishing went stratospheric, the goal is always to connect with individual subscribers or just individual donors, and not to think about what's going to be best for a car company, what's going to be best for a healthcare company, what's going to be best for a fossil fuel industry sponsor who would want to tag our web pages. Now that's we're critical enough that the ExxonMobil is not knocking down our door in order to be able to give us a sponsorship and $1 million check for our publishing. But we have seen before how companies that independent publishers who are responsive to their advertisers can get themselves into some pickles, and we wanted to pursue this work in a democratic and worker-owned cooperative that is looking to engage our supporters and engage our readership. And Raphael, and so that was a bit of a long-winded way on my part of getting back to some of your answers, which is that we hold regular meetings every month or every other month with our members. There's an open agenda process. When a motion is brought by a member, if they move for a vote, we'll be able to both take a vote. We publish agendas before the meeting. We record video and publish minutes after the meeting to be sure that there's a high degree of visibility. And generally with our project, each of the member publications is working for the cooperative as volunteers. There's no full-time staff. The grant and donor revenue is not yet supporting a full-time staff person for the Brick House Cooperative. We all have additional sort of these other publishing projects that are for us as individuals is our main, career supporting project. With the Brick House, we're able to gather each other's sort of cross promotion, and also to be able to occasionally collaborate on pieces that results in some really unique work being put out there that's not typical of the state of American journalism right now, which is a lot of it is very much about a very counterintuitive or hot take in order to whip up a fast frenzy about whatever is in the news right now that's then going to be forgotten in a month. We're interested in putting out different kind of work.
Excellent. It's very interesting, this type of cooperation among different nine publications. And in the academic field, we are calling about platformization of journalism and about platform cooperativism and platform co-op. Now, what's the main challenges to building a platform co-op in journalism in the United States today? Technology and so on.
Well, we're very interested in helping to make this process a little easier for other kinds of groups that come in the wake of the cooperative, which we started last year. So the platform cooperative resources in the US are catching on. More people are becoming more aware of this option for the owners of the company to have equity stakes in the company. And in this way, we also have the Brick House Cooperative members. We do have equity stake in the company. It's just not equity that appreciates in the same way that you would think of a share of another kind of private or publicly traded corporation. Forget publicly traded corporations, of another kind of private media startup. Some of the goals that we have are to we always want to, of course, increase our audience reach and increase our subscriber base. We all started from an okay position in terms of our audience reach, but also reaching more people is always always a goal. Always for us, we can't buy $2,000 of Google ads every month. We can't buy any Google ads every month unless we sort of were to make that a special project. In the same way, we all rely on publishing work from authors on a very sort of modest budget, shoestring budget. We would like to all be publishing more independent, diverse writers, be able to be putting out pieces even more frequently than we do. We have a publishing schedule and a frequency that we keep up. We'd like to be doing more with that, but right now the revenue that comes in goes to supporting the website and very, very modest sorts of freelance fees for our contributors. Our editors are largely working as volunteers for the Brick House Cooperative. From a technology perspective, many of the sites that are on that are part of the Brick House Cooperative share a WordPress base, and it's something we've designed to be able to share resources between the different domains. So parts of what you see on the site of the religion site called Just Preachy also exist on other sites as well. But the goal is to be able to efficiently share resources. And even at that level, would love to have more interactive features, the kind that you can build on WordPress web pages, and more unique designs that emphasize our cooperative's goals and how what you're reading is on when you come to a Brick House website, you're reading something that's exceedingly handcrafted. What we hope to try to communicate to people is that they're on a page that was really built like WordPress custom theme, built by hand and maintained by us. It's not an agency. There's no philanthropist behind the project, and there's no large arts or culture foundation that's supporting this work. So we're interested in talking to folks about the possibility as well. But it's a member-run project looking to sign up small subscribers who donate at $7 a month or a yearly fee. One of the tips that I have, and one of the sort of successes in the US that I'm, depending on where people are watching this, whether in Brazil or elsewhere, might be relevant, or maybe is not, is that we did have success with our initial crowdfunder on Kickstarter. Kickstarter proved to be a platform that was beneficial for us. And while the company had gone through a labor dispute with a group of employees who were seeking to organize and have their union recognized, and that was a long process with Kickstarter, the process did eventually, so to speak, resolve itself in the U.S. And so the crowdfunders generally, and Kickstarter as a specific platform, was a positive project for us to be able to get our site off the ground.
Great. We have a question from our audience. Pedro Aguiar asks, David, does Brick House work completely remote without a newsroom since before the pandemic? Do you intend to keep it that way for good? Sorry if it was, say, the red and I missed it.
Hey, Pedro. Yes, it's all remote. And in fact, only a couple of us are even in the same city, and we're remote in the same city. The cooperative's resources are modest. We are getting by on the dedication that we all have to this vision of publishing this work. And, for example, I could speak briefly to my case. I think it's really important to keep the corruption of lobbying and big money in the campaign process in the public eye. So I want to keep our muckraking going. So, for example, I'm here in New York, where there's another podcast called FAQ that covers city politics, but we're remote. We don't share an office as well. And other projects, of course, based in Taiwan, based in West Africa. There's a project based in Long Beach, California, Southern California, and we have editors who are everywhere from Texas to Oakland to other places.
Great. And what are the challenges regarding funding and regarding economic sustainability? The $1 million question about about your funding and so on.
The next step for us is we're always looking to grow our base. The next step for the cooperative would be to be able to bring on a managing editor to work as a full-time position. That would be a big step forward for us because it would help coordinate even more of the members' publishing work right now. So continuing to grow from the people who read us, the people who arrive from Twitter links, or the people who receive our newsletter, continuing to grow our base of $7 a month subscribers is the goal for our sustainability. So that's our business practice goal. Along the way, we're also interested in building more on WordPress because it's different than email newsletters. So of course, Substacks are the fallback right now for what independent publishing projects in the US look like, because the Substack technology, it reaches people's emails and it's a direct channel to their attention. For people who have their credit card information saved in Substack, it's then less of a step to click subscribe and donate $5 a month to your fourth or fifth newsletter than it might be to put your payment information in to another location. However, the startup of Substack has investors who have a track record of seeking to, of course, big money investors are going to try to maximize profits. And there's concerns regarding whether its policies are really already being democratically observed and what the future is. So I'm trying to contrast the idea of a self-owned and self-developed project in WordPress on the open internet versus newsletter service like Substack that is, it's one-to-many, but it's not many-to-many. The comment features are a little bit under used and not certainly the primary function on Substack. Whereas for the Brick House, we're interested in developing really unique comment forums on our WordPress sites. We've taken a stab at this with some previous projects that allowed for micro-tipping on WordPress web pages in cryptocurrency. That was one of the first embeddable widgets that we had developed as a previous project for the website called Popula. Anybody looking for that can search for more about tipping writers on Popula to see how that would work. I bring that up as an example of the kind of open source and public commons tool for our sustainability.
You freeze, David.
My last,
it's okay.
Yeah, my last thought was that we're interested in building these open source tools in the public commons to be sort of part of our sustainability going forward.
Great. Open tech and free tech and open source are very interesting things, and go around sustainability models, around digital platforms, and so on. Well, David, what are the cooperation networks are you building beyond journalism regarding, for example, tech co-ops or in other sectors or other countries? Tell me about this network cooperation beyond this 9 publication.
So we are hearing from other groups, and from whether it's in the United States or groups in other countries that are interested in the sort of the cooperative model that we developed. And I'll paste a link here just because I have this. This is going to look very funny because it's very. I'll paste it. Oh, here. Maybe I'm in the private chat there, but I
can share.
That's
I
fine.
can share. Okay.
Sure. If you see the link to ohioec.org, as in the U.S. state of Ohio. There, nice. In the U.S. state of Ohio, that link is a link to the basis for our cooperative bylaws. And the cooperative bylaws, the ones that I mentioned, where the equity is limited and held right by the company. Decisions are made generally by majority. In our operating agreement and bylaws, it's down the line. Decisions are made democratically with this sort of high degree of input. We don't have things like we don't have 2 levels of shareholders, and we don't have much by way of officers or directors. It's pretty lean and straightforward. The electric cooperatives was the model, and of course, as well as the since you had studied this and you had already mentioned this, I can refer people to more of the examples of the platform cooperative for other kinds of examples that they could follow. We're interested in this model because it helps clarify it aligns, of course, with our goals for the publishing project. We've been media professionals for the last few years, so we know that the days of multi-million-dollar glossy partnerships or whatever for a website, the economics of that no longer exist. We knew that this was going to be a passion-driven project. The specific structure of the cooperative that we have helps us keep focused on the goal of connecting with readers, publishing different and unique work from around the world, and to build slowly a base of subscribers in a cooperative structure that we can grow. Our members can vote democratically in order to be able to accept a 9th, 10th, 11th, or a 10th, 11th, 12th member this coming year. And that's always something that we're interested in doing. The resources are shared by the resources that come into the cooperative are shared by the cooperative. So there's always the possibility that we can grow and in turn increase our the small, very small budgets that we have in order to be able to pay freelancers and to be able to develop the website and things like that. It helps us in thinking about our everyday about what kind of pieces we're putting out. It means we're not just going to chase the hottest topic. It means we are going to put out a longer essay about a documentary, or an essay about religion, or a personal essay about from someone's experience that might not cause a panic on the internet that day, but that hopefully reaches somebody as a real expression of the kind of independent, thoughtful online writing that we want to see more of on the internet.
Excellent. And I very appreciated your links, and we will be at a platform cooperativism event next month with Trevor shows and other people, and we're very happy with this. So David, what's for you? What are the main differences between work in a co-op and work in traditional media or other types of organization of work organization?
Great question. I'll respond by saying that I've been part of a lot of traditional nonprofit projects over the last 15, 20 years. And oftentimes in the world of nonprofit organizations, you're very responsive to the priorities set by the board of directors. The board of directors, in turn, are very responsive to the major funders of the organization. There's a high degree of accountability built into nonprofit organizations, where there's transparency built into the decision-making process, and there's everyone's, you're working for a mission, you're working for a cause, but there's oftentimes there's a strong degree of the organization's growth and decision-making process is not perhaps especially what all of its stakeholders and members would have prioritized. That happens in the nonprofit world. Things change, priorities change. With a cooperative, I feel like there's a more determinate, there's a more higher, there's traction. There's able to, the members have stronger input on the direction and the priorities of the cooperative. I feel like there's less of a chance that a problematic partnership would be allowed if the member viewed it as problematic. I feel like it would be more effectively combated. This is part of what it means for us to want, as worker journalists, to be able to have this degree of determination over the fate and future of the organization. And though the cooperatives right now, our means are limited compared to companies that receive traditional philanthropy or have a lot of revenue from other sorts of commercial sponsorships, like the political press in DC is often sponsored by the pharmaceutical industry and the fossil fuel industry and more to be able to pay their reporters. We don't accept that. We don't. Our publishing is independent from that. Though our means are small, I feel like their goals are also modest to connect with the number of subscribers over the next year or two, to be able to support the beginning of a staff that can in turn help increase the network. And we're always, as a democratically sort of run and governed organization, we always have the ability to bring on a site that's going to be that's going to really add to the perspective and continue to add to the some of the radical politics, the feminist thought, and the the diverse contributors of the Brick House.
Great. Sorry for.
That's great.
Great, David. Final question. What advice would you give to anyone who wants to set up a platform co-op in the sector of media or journalism in Brazil?
One of the tips that I already mentioned, which is that crowdfunders are an effective way to get to a launch. I feel like people want to donate to make something happen. To say that I helped to make something happen in the world is a powerful thing now. second piece of follow-up advice on that is, and it's not a fun one, unfortunately, but it's real, it's from our experience, is that a successful crowdfunder can be almost a full-time job. You could spread it between multiple people, but maintaining with the rewards and the updates, continuing the momentum and showcasing the value of what you're trying to build through a crowdfunder is almost a full-time position for somebody working. So plan ahead for helping to, thinking ahead to how you're going to be advertising and promoting your crowdfunder, but it can work. And then you'll get to launch. And from launch, then you're, depending on what you want to build, the scale of it, whether it's a local news cooperative or whether you're going to be covering a sort of an area that's not covered adequately by the mainstream media where you are, or others, I'm not sure how to sort of set your calibration. Again, with the Brick House, we're not we don't have a full-time employee yet, but we are, growing our subscriber base with every newsletter we send out, and we know that we can, look to the base of our previous crowdfunder supporters to be able to hopefully support us again with another crowdfunder gift at some point in the future. They've continued to read our work and have been getting our newsletters. So that's how I would sort of think about it, as the crowdfunder can be really fun. It can be a blast, and it'll be exhausting. You'll need a break after you're done before you start publishing.
Excellent. Thank you very much, David. And people know more about Brick House Co-op and in our research of cooperative journalism, and know about our platform co-op observatory. See you there in our next conversation with MCTIC, platform co-op around streaming and audiovisual and media. And see you there. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye-bye.